NFL free agency and the offseason has started for a lot of players in the NFL. Now, granted, it doesn't technically start until next week, but a lot of players have either been released or agreed to terms, and that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. We're going to discuss free agency acquisitions, implications for the next season, and how it's going to affect each team moving forward. But before we get started, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as each only take a second to do, and it would be very much appreciated. Now let's begin. We begin today's video with Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. So with Dallas and re-signing their franchise quarterback, there's a lot to look forward to for the next half decade, or roughly so. Dak obviously gets the bag, he gets the long-term security that he's been looking for, and better yet, or best yet, he has $75 million in the first year. Now, Dallas has done everything right the past couple years, maybe with the exception of re-signing Ezekiel Elliott to that big extension. And I know Cowboys fans aren't big on linebacker Jalen Smith either, but Dak gets the long-term extension, and they secure their guy for the next couple of years. So when Dak was supposedly going in free agency, I think everyone knew that that was actually never going to happen, as a quarterback of that caliber simply stays with their team for roughly at least a decade unless they absolutely went out for one reason or another, like Deshaun Watson. Now, technically, Peyton Manning did hit free agency, but the Colts went 2-14 and got Andrew Luck, who was the best prospect other than Trevor Lawrence in the past 10 years. And by the way, I'm not getting into the Luck-Lawrence debate. Anyway, that's all I'm saying is quarterbacks of that caliber do not hit free agency, and there's a reason for that. So I thought it was pretty obvious from the beginning that Dak was going to get re-signed, and it was just a matter of the numbers, and as we saw, they were very large. Next one, and this was very surprising to me to say the least, was Mark Ingram agreeing to terms with the Texans. So Mark Ingram and the Saints obviously had some rough years in the mid-2010s because of how bad the defenses were, but Mark Ingram has been on a lot of winning teams throughout his career. And for him to go to the Ravens and the Saints at the late 2010s, consistently winning teams making deep playoff runs, not necessarily in the Ravens case, but, winning consistent teams, this really surprised me because it's just the thought of Mark going from a consistent contender to an absolute opposite and the absolute worst case scenario that he could go to. And for a player that has no Super Bowl rings, this decision really surprised me, as Mark's made a good fair amount of money in his career, and to go to a team for a one-year $3 million deal where he will share carries with David Johnson. I mean, not only are they obviously well past their primes, but this decision definitely surprised me because I thought Mark would have went ring chasing and would have honestly taken the veteran minimum to go play for a team, whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Arizona, whether it's whoever that he thinks can win a ring, or even Buffalo for that matter. I was just surprised that Mark went to such a poor team at this stage in his career when he is in fact ringless. And while we're on the Texans, we are going to discuss a press conference that happened today. Head coach David Culley was asked, and really put in a tough situation, as we'll play the video here in a second. He was asked about Deshaun's future with the Texans, and David said, yes, he is a Texan. And the reporter asked, how do you know, or basically how confident are you? And he said, well, he's a Texan, so he is that. And this is a tough situation for a coach to be in because this isn't his problem. I mean, it is his problem because he is the head coach of the Texans, but this isn't the problem he created, and he has to now respond, and he has to be responsible for the poor decisions made by Bill O'Brien and everyone else within that organization. And this is such a tough situation for him to be in, and I really do feel bad for the guy, as this is going to be a long rebuild for the Texans, as who knows when they're going to make the playoffs again, even with the 7 seeds. I mean, this roster, aside from Deshaun, is absolutely horrendous. So I just want to play this press conference, and I just wanted to really, kind of feel for David Culley, because this situation that he's in here, it's atrocious, and I do feel bad for the guy. So without further ado, here is the said press conference.
Hey, Coach Culley, you've said repeatedly the team is committed to Deshaun Watson. Is he committed to you and the team?
Yes, he is.
How do you know that?
Well, he's a Houston Texan, and again, I know that. I feel like that with the commitment that we've made to him, and I feel like that same commitment will be there with us also moving forward.
Quickly, before we keep moving on, I said the Texans roster is atrocious, which it is outside of a couple players, which I did include the outside a couple players part. So Laramie Tunsil is not atrocious, but other than that, there's not much to work with. Now, moving forward with the free agents. Emmanuel Sanders was released, and so was John Brown. So Emmanuel is going to be 34 at the start of the season, so I really hate to sit here and say I have no idea where he's going, but I genuinely have no idea where he's going because I don't know who's going to want to pay a 34-year-old receiver, so the direction his career goes is, at this point, I don't know. But John Brown said he has expressed interest in the Colts, because he said something along the lines of, they walked off the field when they beat them in the playoffs and thought this team was up and coming. And John has right to think that. Quentin Nelson and Jonathan Taylor are two players alone. Those two alone are going to be big reasons for the Colts' success moving forward. So obviously with the addition of Carson Wentz, who, by the way, if his career is going to rebound, it will be in Indy. It will be nowhere else but Indy. So if Carson's career is going to rebound and John could play a role in that and take over the T.Y. Hilton role as T.Y.'s aging, that'd be a perfect place for John to go. So a prediction for John before the next week kicks off, I do think John will be a Colt. So John is 30 years old, and many people probably don't know, he was 24 years old during his rookie season. So if this does not work out in Indy, assuming he signs there, then he probably will ring chase, as that's what players play for. And John has made a decent amount of money in his career, nothing like Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott now, nothing crazy like that, as receivers obviously don't make that money to begin with, but John's done well for himself. So at this point, given he is 30 years old and has never won a ring, I would expect him to start to ring chase if things don't work out in Indy, assuming that's where he signs. No, I'm not going to spend a whole segment and a whole minute or two talking about other receivers that are free agents like Juju, Kenny Golladay, and Allen Robinson. We've discussed them before. Juju, I think, is returning to the Steel City. Kenny Golladay is gone, as we know, and Allen Robinson I also expect to be gone. But now we are going to dive into the most interesting part of today's video, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs and what the future holds for them. So we're going to preface this Kansas City Chiefs movement of moving 3 offensive linemen today. We're going to preface it with saying I made a video initially this morning on TikTok discussing this, and it was very reactionary at the time, and it's still kind of reactionary now because I don't know what they do going forward. They are not going to have a shot at, obviously, Penny Sewell. He's going to be gone by the time they select him before they could even trade up that far. Rashawn Slater, another great tackle prospect, and obviously Christian Darrisaw either. So they're not going to have a shot at any of the top 3 tackles. They cut both their tackles today, and they moved on from their center. Did Brett Veach and Andy Reid watch the Super Bowl? I mean, Patrick Mahomes got absolutely destroyed by the Bucs, and I would sincerely hope for Patrick Mahomes' safety that they don't have Mike Remmer starting out there at tackle next year. We saw how bad he is. Vikings fans and Panthers fans know how bad of a player he is. Now, I assume that they don't want him to start there next year. We all do assume that. But moving forward, you know, when you sign Patrick Mahomes to an extension like that, you know you're going to have to spend more on the offensive side of the ball to maximize the talent that he needs. You know, Patrick Mahomes can't be out there with that $500 million contract throwing to Laquan Treadwells, to Griff Whalens of the world. He can't be throwing to those guys. So in a sense, you have to have him sign that extension knowing that the percentage of your salary cap is going to be, we'll say, just for this example, we'll say 65% offense, 35% defense. Have a Moneyball style approach on defense. You know, that's the sacrifice you have to make with that type of player in Patrick Mahomes. Now, if anybody wants to say, oh, well, Tom Brady has this, Tom Brady has that. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Giselle as a wife where, you know, she makes $15 million in her own rights, you know, so they can't exactly do that. You know, Tom Brady's a one of one, and he should never be compared to. Now, before I keep slandering Brett Veach and Andy Reid, I do want to take a second and pause and say they've done a phenomenal job over the past few years. Back-to-back Super Bowl appearances with a championship does not happen by accident, and it really should have been 3 Super Bowl appearances in a row. So I do want to kind of just pump the brakes and, you know, not completely destroy them because, as you guys know, I'm a Vikings fan, and they've done a lot better of a job with their franchise than mine has. So, but anyway, this is the first decision where I truly don't understand the thought process. I don't understand this, and, you know, like we said, the Moneyball approach has to be the approach if you're going to maximize what Patrick Mahomes can do. Remember, quarterbacks can't make 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards out of, you know, for lack of a better word, just bums at receiver. They can't do that. So in a sense, you have to help Patrick out in the best way possible. Now, what will benefit the Chiefs, at least for the short time being, the Bills, the Ravens, the Titans, you know, the premier teams of the AFC, those guys, those teams do not have elite pass rushers. They are not, you know, they don't have the Myles Garrett, now the Browns do, for example, but they don't have, you know, the true 20-sack players where, you know, you're like, man, if they meet in the AFC Championship game, the Chiefs are going to be screwed and it could be another Buck situation. Now, it could be if, you know, a player emerges, or even if the Browns would get there and, you know, Myles Garrett would be going against Mike Remmers, that would be ugly again. But what I'm saying is this is the true first decision in a while where I can really just dig at the Chiefs, not that I want to, but just, you know, where you can really just kind of be like, what is the thought process here as a franchise? Again, I completely understand the decision from a financial standpoint and what you have to do to get under the cap, but this is not something I agree with, nor do I fully understand it, given what we saw happen in the last Chiefs game, which of course was Super Bowl 55. But the question that should be asked now, are the Chiefs done? Is this what we're going to see moving forward? Now, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce won't ever be cut, at least not within the next year or two. But is this what we're going to see moving forward with that contract? Obviously, the Vikings received a heck of a lot of criticism back in 2018 when they gave Kirk Cousins a fully guaranteed contract. But is this what we're going to start seeing from the Chiefs? Are they done is a legitimate question right now. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like this new style because I truly enjoy doing these with the face cam and everything. Makes me feel more interactive with you guys. But anyways, I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Until then, love you guys. Deuces.